I've only recently started exploring the world of Digimon. The deeper I get into this world is the more I understand how much of Digimon's progress as a franchise in the West is due to the loyalty and passion of its fanbase. So allow me to be the one to thank you all for this resurgence, as it's opened my eyes to how creative and ambitious Digimon is. Now granted, I'm still dipping my toes, I still need to watch more of the animes and play some of the older titles, but after falling in love with the Cyber Sleuth duology as well as New Order, I've been looking forward to playing Time Stranger. Surely I couldn't have been the only one thinking that the protagonist was the same one from Cyber Sleuth, but no, this is a new story with new characters, and it does look fantastic. Though that wasn't too hard since Cyber Sleuth was kind of held together with string and duct tape. It manages to look crispier but still looks like Digimon. This is the sort of art direction I like. And if my save file is anything to go by, gameplay wise, there have been so many quality of life improvements made to the Digimon raising aspects that do admittedly take a while to really get used to if you're coming fresh out of Cyber Sleuth, but they definitely grew on me after a while. A point of contention I was seeing though was with the story. I would see some comments from people saying that the characters were shallower or weren't as well developed as the Cyber Sleuth cast, and while I do find myself agreeing, I wouldn't immediately call that a downgrade. First of all, there's clearly a change in tone. Cyber Sleuth's world was very shonen. The characters were over the top and exaggerated. A lot of absurd humor, exaggerated expressions, and lots of "huh? Nani?" Time Stranger's world, the human world, is a lot more down to earth. The characters, with the exception of maybe Hiroko, are a lot more toned down to make way for quieter, somber moments, to juxtapose the absurdity of the Digimon world, which is much more bombastic and vibrant. It's an atmosphere shift I can get behind, especially with the more up-to-date visuals. For me, it all depends on what sort of story you're trying to tell and how the characters and plot work together to explore the themes presented. And in the case of Time Stranger, my feelings are complicated. It has moments, it certainly has moments. There's a very Digimon adventure vibe to it as you just explore the Digimon world and get involved with the locals. The big elephant in the room is Kazuma Habu stepping away towards the end of development. Habu was the face of modern Digimon since 2010, and he just quietly and gracefully stepped away, claiming that he wouldn't be working on Digimon games anymore, in a sort of passing of the torch, stating that the franchise would be in good hands, passing the reins over to Ryosuke Hara. Nevertheless, there's clearly a lot of love put into this game, taking over 10 years, rebuilding from the ground up. It was said that their intention was making a good JRPG first, and a good Digimon game second, to be accessible to newcomers as well as a love letter to the fans, and I consider myself a newbie, but even I could tell when references were being thrown my way, mostly cause I googled shit. That's one of those things I always laugh at when entering a franchise late. I'm like, yeah, at some point I'll explore the franchise top to bottom, then come back and be like, yep, I get it, yep. How do you do, fellow kids? Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm gonna be spoiling everything because once I start talking, I don't know when to stop. I'll also push you to watch my previous Digimon videos before this one. Not for your sake, but because it makes me blush. Let's jam.
Take your seat and wait for the show to
Holy
start.
shit, we have English voice
The story about
acting.
the
Alright,
natural laws
sorry.
of The world is about to begin.
That opening animation you just saw is from an in-game anime called Agent Alpha, and if you're wondering why we look exactly like the main characters of that show, it's because the show is based on our urban legend, Adamus, a secret organization we belong to in charge of investigating the paranormal, or anomalous phenomena, as the game likes to call it. It's funny how our operator explains all this to us, and we're even probed to ask questions like, who are you? Who are we? What do we do? That's how a lot of dialogue goes between you and the operator, where they just talk at you about things you should already know. I found it a bit silly at first because there's better ways to do exposition. However, once you get to certain plot twists and revelations in the story, it recontextualizes a lot of this clunky dialogue to where it all makes a lot more sense as to why she speaks to us like this. So what's going on right now? Let's get into some world building. 8 years ago, there was a mysterious explosion in Nishi Shinjuku area, and since then a wall has been erected around the blast site for safety, with no real answers as to what actually happened. The only real clues are some footage that people recorded and posted online at the time. The clips themselves were deleted, but the comments still remain. A lot of the paranormal activities we investigate usually happen around this area. That's usually because there's a link between social unrest and an increase in paranormal activity, such as tremors. And today there's a protest outside the wall as people are demanding answers as to what happened 80 years ago. We're picking up a paranormal reading on our radar, and that's why we're here to investigate. And I couldn't help but notice how similar the starting area is to the Shinjuku from Cyber Sleuth. That's going to be a thing I notice quite often as we revisit certain areas. Though when I think about it, they are based off of real places, so I shouldn't be that surprised, but it's still kinda cool. As we work our way through the crowd and sneak inside, someone sends a request to our Digivice for us to rescue them. Our operator finds it strange that this unknown person has already been approved to contact our Digivice, considering the fact that we're technically not meant to exist, so we should look for this person also. Inside the wall, this is where we're introduced to Digimon, or phase electron life forms. So yeah, while in the beginning of Cyber Sleuth, Digimon were framed as programs linked to cyberspace, here they're just creatures linked to paranormal phenomenon, existing behind the wall. There's no cyberspace, no Eden, Digimon aren't even known by the general public, only people like us. And yes, they're out and about and visible on the field, so no random encounters. At the very least, we have the ability to gather data after encountering a Digimon enough times to then convert that data into Digimon of our own using our Digivice. So it works more or less the same as the previous game in terms of how you collect these little critters. Let's go with Patamon as our starter. We're attacked by a giant Digimon but saved by this girl. She's the one that sent out the rescue request. She seems to know us as she talks about how a war's about to break out and that he was meant to be with me. We obviously have no clue as to what she's on about. She says we're heading to the top of the Metropolitan building to stop the fight that's about to happen. Oh cool, you can recover HP and MP by standing still. Neat. Oh, it's Omnimon! We get separated due to destruction caused by the Digimon fighting, so we need to find a way across to meet up with the strange girl. We run into this Digimon who feels like he's seen us somewhere before. Yeah, that seems to be a running theme. So he decides to help us fly across the gap. We don't make it all the way, but far enough. Along the way, the operator gives us more exposition about how our adoptive father, Dr. Yuki, was the founder of Adamus and discovered Digivolution. Few people know about Dr. Yuki because he rarely made appearances and gave up the rights to his work. We hear this a few times as we traverse through the building, but I'm just condensing it here. Jesus, this is so cool. I love seeing all this real-time movement. Pokemon could never. Reaching the roof, we confront a boss followed by the most insane cutscene ever.
What's going on?
We wake up in this strange location with some Digimon. The shadow that attacked us followed us here and is after the egg that these Digimon are guarding. In our attempt to protect the egg, well, this happens. We're then treated to a cutscene with these three quote-unquote children, saying they may have to intervene since the balance of the world is out of whack. We wake up in Shinjuku Park with no signal. Walking around, we find that the area is locked off, as in front of the blockade, a man is arguing with two public safety agents, saying that his daughter is stuck inside the quarantine zone. The two agents are named Kuroi and Shiroki. They aren't important right now, but they will be later. We sneak around using our Digimon to break into the sewer area. The man that was trying to find his daughter asks if we can escort him to help him look. While exploring, we find a girl named Hiroko, who the man knows as his daughter's best friend. She wanted to come down here to investigate why there was a blockade because she thinks it would get views. Trust me, sister, I know the struggle. We leave her here to investigate onwards as we soon discover what the blockade was all about. There's wild Digimon down here. Wormon! Darling! Don't you recognize me? Everything we've been through. We find his daughter, who ends up being the girl that was with us at the Tokyo Metropolitan building. Inori. She's nursing an injured Digimon that she named Ku. Another Digimon comes along to try to harm Ku as Inori tries to defend it, but we swiftly deal with it, but Ku runs away. Inori doesn't recognize us, and what makes things even weirder is that we walk by the Metropolitan building and find it untouched in one piece. Her dad wants us to stay with them for a while, though not due to hospitality, but because he has questions for us. We agree, and Inori wakes us up the next day for a house tour before she heads off to school. After which, our operator finally gets through. Turns out, we're in the past. As in her current timeline, Tokyo is a hellscape. She'll contact us in a bit with more info. Meeting Inori's father in her study, he reveals he used to work for the public safety division just like the two agents from yesterday, but now he works as a private investigator named Kusuke. He then asks who we're working for, but when we tell him it's classified, he understands. He knows we can't say, but he wants to know more about Digimon, so he doesn't mind us using his house as a home base. Operator contacts us again and confirms that we've somehow been sent back in time by 8 years. She wants us to walk around so that she can properly calibrate herself to our time. As we do, we discover a strange anomaly, a white light in a back alley at Kabukicho. Welcome to the In-Between Theatre, where we're treated to a much younger Mirei Mikagura. I'll get more into that later. Stepping back outside, Operator says the war was between two Digimon factions. However, since the battle was brought to Shinjuku, humans with mechanized weapons joined in, making it a three-way brawl. This incident is dubbed as the Shinjuku Inferno. She'll be in touch again later. So by now you may be realizing that the game doesn't really operate by chapters, it's just the one ongoing narrative. And if you're like me, you probably thought you had a good idea of how this gameplay loop was gonna work. You're introduced to side quests, there's the private investigator you're living with, there's this pin board in his study. It's looking very Cyber Sleuth, like you're gonna be exploring Tokyo solving paranormal activities in the past. But no, this game's gonna throw you through a few loops, where it'll get you comfortable for a while, settling you into a particular environment and gameplay cycle, before hitting you with a curveball that not only changes the location, but completely changes the current dynamic of everything, and introducing you to new story elements and objectives. It creates a lot of what I like to call false beginnings, where the moment you feel like you get what the game's about, it switches up on you. Like, you know how in Ocarina of Time you need to find the 3 spirit stones, and then you think that's it, but then no, after that you need to find the 5 sages. Like, imagine if then after that you needed to find the scattered shards of the Triforce, and it just kept going on like that. I'm actually not complaining. I find Time Stranger to be a very dynamic game in that regard. Like, the story is constantly evolving, but can also create this feeling that the game never stops to breathe, which didn't really come to my attention until the end game. So I'll talk more about that there, especially since I've also glossed over the In-Between Theatre and the Digifarm, but I've got reasons for that. But as far as, say, the characterization of our protagonist, whenever someone speaks to you, there's usually 3 types of answers you can give: compassionate, business, joking. These aren't stats or anything like that. In fact, the game doesn't really care about what you choose, it's just how I personally summarize them anyway, but back to the plot. Hiroko shows up at Inori's place the next day, wanting to continue investigating strange places. Inori isn't so keen, but our operator secretly recommends that I accompany them, since it's possible that some of the footage that was uploaded and deleted during the Shinjuku Inferno was done by Hiroko. Some may call this enabling, I choose to call it supervision. We head back into the sewers and spot Ku. He runs off, so she wants to chase after him, because she wants to check its injuries, with Hiroko saying Inori is pathologically maternal. A boss fight ensues as we protect Ku, with Inori putting her life on the line to protect it, saying that Yu was picked on a lot too. Don't even get caught up in that confusion, because I almost did. The Yu she's referring to isn't the same character from Hacker's Memory. For whatever reason, they just recycled the name. In this case, Yu is her little brother, but we'll get to that. Seeing this display of maternal instinct, Ku digivolves into Aegeomon and we use him in combat. Turns out he can even speak, but he has no clue as to who he is, what he is, or why he's here. Bringing him back home, Kosuke is quick to put things together without saying much and says he can stay with us as he plans on introducing both Aegeomon and I to some people tomorrow. The next day arrives and we head out with Kosuke and... Okay, Aegeomon, I see you. Kosuke introduces us to Kodai Kuremi. So this one is actually a legitimate reference. Funny thing though is that he doesn't have much of a role within the story itself, as most of what he does is off screen and in the background, which we don't actually get to see until a later DLC, whereas the protagonist, we hop through various points of his timeline accompanied by a teenage Kyoko, where it's revealed he's her father. So does that make this a prequel to Cyber Sleuth? Yes and no. It's one of those parallel timeline things, don't think too hard about it.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Anyway, he's here to grant us an audience with Dr. Simmons, who wants to research and understand Digimon. She's got the kooky quack scientist thing going on where she gushes over Digimon, but she's one of the good guys. She's all about good ethics and treating Digimon with respect, wanting to genuinely understand and foster good relations with them. After some training exercises where she gathers data, Aegeomon befriends and plays with some local children. He has fun and promises to return to play with them tomorrow. Back at home, Operator contacts us saying that Aegeomon's Digivolution seems to have been triggered by Inori's emotions. Humans being able to influence Digimon in that way isn't normal. So from now on, Inori and Aegeomon are to be recognized as Class A anomalies. The following day, Aegeomon's excited to go play with the kids again and introduce Inori to his new friends. However, it turns out that they've gone missing. We check the sewers to find a spatial distortion caused by a group of Vaidmon. Aegeomon defeats them, rescuing the kids, but in the process his hat falls off, revealing his horns. They call Aegeomon a monster and run away. Man, fuck them kids. You know what, just for that, I'm gonna scalp some Pokemon cards. This causes Aegeomon to be depressed, so Inori has a heart-to-heart with him, telling him that she lost her younger brother and mother due to an accident. The clothes he's currently wearing belong to her younger brother Yu. She then tells him that no matter what those kids may have said, it doesn't take away from the fact that she thinks of him as a hero, and that she'll always be by his side, as he promises to never leave her side either. We overhear this, and Operator is quick to remind us that we don't belong here, and they're to be treated as anomalies. That's gonna be a recurring motif. Anytime there's a tender moment, Operator will cut in to remind us that we're on a mission and not to get attached to these two. We get a signal that there's an anomaly in Kabukicho Shinjuku. As I make my way there, one of the kids from yesterday comes over to apologize to us and tells us to apologize to Aegeomon on his behalf, also introducing us to the Digimon card game. Okay, so I'm gonna scalp Digimon cards instead. It's just a fun little distraction that emulates the actual Digital Monsters game. It's heavily luck based, as even if you use a Digimon with high numbers or type advantages, the weaker one can still win. I didn't bother collecting every single card, but I did make some time for it here and there to battle everyone that I could and buy whatever cards I could. I can see a lot of fans getting some mileage out of this, and it did honestly have me consider collecting Digimon cards in real life. Hopefully, the community isn't as toxic. The anomaly ends up being a fight between Minervamon and Blue Greymon that came through a portal. I hate this fight. In fact, truth be told, so many of these early boss fights are miserable. It's not even that they're especially difficult, like it's not like I died or anything, you just don't do enough damage, so the fights drag on and take too damn long. Especially when the boss does a wind-up attack, and then you need to switch to target a specific area that has its own bar in order to get them in armor break. It's tedious. This only annoyed me in the first few hours though. As your Digimon gets stronger, later boss fights are less painful to get through. But there was one boss that made me minimize the game for a while because I just needed a break, but anyway. Minervamon is from the kingdom of Iliad in the digital world. The creature it was fighting is known as a Titan, the enemies of Iliad. Minervamon came here looking for the egg that we lost. She also finds it strange that Aegeomon has no memories prior to Inori saving him, and offers him to come to the digital world once they found the egg. We decide to hit up Dr. Simmons, as she might know something we don't. She says they're developing a radar to detect anomalies and life forms, but she's lost contact with one of their teams installing the devices. Turns out the group were ambushed and had the device stolen by a bunch of Black Gatomons, which escaped into a distortion. We defeat them and get it back. Only 90% conversion? You knew I would want Black Gatomon. They install the final device and we report back. I must say I can't help but love Dr. Simmons. She reminds me a lot of Kyoko in her looks and personality, but just as a scientist. The devices point to an anomaly at Shinjuku Park. Whilst there we spot the shadow from before and it leads us to the egg, but it's already hatched, meaning the Great Guardian has already been born. This is when Aegeomon says that this place feels familiar. It may have been the first place he saw, but before anyone can state the obvious, Titamon comes through a portal and attacks. During the skirmish, we get sucked into the portal, arriving at the digital world, looking straight out of Studio Ghibli. Oh, and now the title screen. I think this beats Kingdom Hearts 2 for the longest prologue ever. Because yeah, this is where the game truly begins, and I was honestly looking forward to this because I love the Cyber Sleuth duology, I truly do. I spent almost 5 hours talking about how much I love those games, but I didn't need to spend a whole nother game in Tokyo despite the graphical upgrade. And we spent next to no time with the digital world, so I was more than ready to embark on this expedition. And I must say, I like Central Town's design. It's bright, colourful, and full of personality. It really does feel straight out of a Ghibli movie. Even the operator says humans who may have thought to be spirited away may very well have ended up here. Although, we never do meet any other humans here, but anyway, it's weird and it's wonderful with its Tom and Jerry ass meat. It does look delicious though. Although Minervamon seems to have vanished, so we're stuck, unsure about how to return home. Asking around, it seems the Digimon in charge is named Mirukimon, but we're forbidden from seeing him. Though outside we spot Lunamon and Coronamon from earlier. Coronamon is goated into going into the sewers with a pair of Bearmon due to them mocking him and calling him a coward. Lunamon asks us to go after them to bring them back, and in exchange she'll help us find Minervamon. Once inside, the smaller Bearmon was left behind after they were attacked by Titans. Getting deeper inside, we find the two attacked by a Titan.
You leave those kids alone! Inori! No! What are you doing? But look at them! They're obviously bullying kids weaker than them!
More prey for us, eh? Thanks for showing up to be hunted.
I won't let you lay a finger on Inori!
The other Digimon too, yeah? Aegeomon, that's why we came here. Minervamon shows up too. Back at Central Town, Minervamon grants us an audience with Mirukimon, who says if we want to go home, we need to meet with Junomon, who rules over Iliad. But we can't contact her right now, as the radio tower is busted, so that's our next stop. Arriving at the tower, there's a giant ominous dark cloud of doom over it. The local Digimon can't fix the tower because of a Titan claiming the territory. We need to use Hagurumons as gears in order to reach the top. Lots of the areas you'll explore have similar gimmicks, using Digimon as a way to progress through this stage. They're more interactive in the way that have more personality. I'm pretty old school when it comes to dungeon crawlers though, so I didn't mind Cyber Sleuth's bland dungeons very much. I mean, Persona 3 Fez and its procedurally generated dungeon is one of my favorite games ever, so go figure. We reach the top and encounter Parrotmon. It's a stressful fight until Mirukimon arrives. Once Parrotmon's dealt with, Mirukimon gets word that Junomon's temple is being attacked alongside Central Town. So Mirukimon heads to Central Town while we head to the factory, because we need to restore the power so that we can actually use the transportation to get to Junomon's temple. Along the way, Inori says to me in confidence that she understands how Aegeomon felt back in our world, as this all feels so alien to her. Arriving at the factory area, turns out that the Titans have invaded here too, so we need to drive them out. Ultimate Brachiomon doesn't go down easy, as he's strong against physical attacks, which kind of sucks when I've been leveling up Leomon the whole time, but I made it work. You the goat, Dokugomon. Turns out the reason there's no power is because Volcanismon turned it off to prevent the Titans from reaching the temple, so once we've driven them out, we get inside to convince him to put the power back on, but he thinks we're Titans and we have to fight. Fuck this boss fight. This is the one I needed a break for. Brother can restore his arms and fuck it. He calms down when we tell him we can bring him more action figures from the human world. That's his thing. I do love the soundtrack here, I forgot to mention. While we wait for him to restore the power, we get another moment with Inori where she says that she's read her dad's notes before. It's clear that her mother and brother were caught up in a conflict involving Digimon. She wants to help stop this conflict, not just for the sake of it affecting the human world, but also because as she's come to spend time with Digimon, she's realized they're just like us. They also have people precious to them that they don't want to lose. But before things get too sentimental, Operator chimes in my ear that nipping this conflict in the bud may be the key to stopping the Shinjuku Inferno. Yeah, thanks. Way to ruin the moment with my surrogate sister. We head back over to Central Town to check in on their situation, but they've succeeded in driving the Titans out. Nevertheless, the path to Junamon is ready. Before we depart, Marukimon thinks it best that Agumon stays in the digital world instead of returning with us, but it's his decision to make at the end of the day. Arriving at Junamon's temple, it looks incredible. I feel the weight and pressure of this entire... hang on. Oh, I've just been sent a bunch of side quests. Okay, let me just U-turn and double back. Jokes aside though, as soon as I got here, I was like, oh, so this is what we're doing. Yeah, I've played way too much Shin Megami Tensei to not immediately see where this is going. We're the bad guys, right? Right? Everyone's been manipulated through a false messiah and fake legend that the Titans are fighting against. That's what we're doing, right? Nah. I'm on board. Story. Do your thing. I'm here. I'm willing to play ball.
Iliad was once safeguarded by two beings of absolute power. The wise warden Homeros, overseer of law and order, and the great guardian Chronomon, protector of Iliad's inhabitants. The presence of these two beings allowed for an extended period of peace and prosperity. Yet one day, the wicked forces of the Titans conspired to take over Iliad, launching an assault on our domain. In order to protect our people, Chronomon engaged the Titans on the field of battle. After a fierce and terrible conflict, the Titan forces were routed, driven back into the very depths of the earth. But Chronomon suffered wounds most fatal. Surrounded by the grieving populace, Chronomon made a declaration with his last breath, that his will would pass onto another guardian, when the peace of Iliad was once again threatened by evil. Chronomon then perished, leaving behind a single egg. That egg would come to be enshrined at the seat of the wise warden Homeros in a temple symbolizing the peace of Iliad. Thus would the people of Iliad await the eventual revival of the Great Guardian.
Liars! You're all liars! Junamon insists that Agumon is the Great Guardian hatched from the egg and it's his duty to save Iliad from the Titans. He's clearly very hesitant and unsure, with Inori picking up on this. But Junamon doesn't really give us much of an option as she's currently unable to open the gate to send us home, as she says it's too unstable and can negatively impact the human world, so it's best that we help them settle things in Iliad first. So she tells us we should see the situation for ourselves by heading over to the Abyss to give them a helping hand. The Abyss sounds so ominous, but it's just an ocean civilization. It's a cool naming convention though. But when Junamon first said all this, I genuinely thought she was just bullshitting, that she could probably open the gate anytime she wanted but was flapping to keep Agumon from leaving, because Agumon himself only agrees to head over to the Abyss for the sake of helping Inori and I get home. It never is made truly clear, but I kinda fuck with that. It's left open, though granted I could be reading too much into it. Arriving at the Abyss, Agumon starts to warm up to the idea of being the Great Guardian. In the human world, he was lost, confused, and shunned. Here he feels more at home and has a purpose. Inori apologizes for his experience in the human world. She then wants to ask what he'll do once the gate opens, but stops herself. The water is gorgeous, but it still ain't that Dreamcast GameCube water. We make contact with Shujinmon, who believes Shellmon may be a traitor, as some claim to have seen a Titan near her home. We go to investigate, but Shellmon says she can't open the door. She knows what people are saying about her, but all it is that she's too injured. Inori believes her, so we offer to gather her various ingredients. Once we return, Shellmon lets us inside, revealing that she was nursing Digivoltion back to health. Digivoltion is a Titan that attacked the town but was injured in the process, but he says he was just following orders and has lost the will to fight. And given Shellmon's hospitality, he's come to question why the Titans are even fighting with Iliad in the first place. The conversation is interrupted by another Titan attack. We go to take a look and the place is now in ruins with not too many survivors. Digivoltion says he wants to talk to his boss to stop the attacks, so Shellmon gives us a conch to summon her friend so that we can go underwater.
Well, who might you be? Is it safe to assume you're Shellmon's friends, since you have the conch?
No, we raided her house and stole the conch. What are you gonna do about it? There's a thin layer of oxygen so we can breathe. Once we reach the bottom, Digimon is very quick to reassure Wamon that we'll make sure this situation gets handled. And Inori has a proud big sis moment seeing him man up and take charge. Digivoltion tells us to wait here as he goes to meet with his friend. Who is we? You're not here! While waiting, we get attacked by Digimon, making it look as though Digivoltion set us up, but he then shows up with Submarinmon, apologizing that he took so long. We use Submarinmon to get through the harsh currents, reaching his boss, Sharkmon. He tries to convince Sharkmon to leave the village alone, but it results in a boss fight. After defeating him, Digivoltion continues to question what the conflict is even about. Returning to the surface, Shellmon left a note explaining that she evacuated with the villagers to help them make more medicine. The village is in ruins with very few Digimon left, and Digivoltion takes it hard since he contributed to this. So he decides to remain here on his own to guard what's left as we say goodbye to him. And the trophy you get from this is called the Lonely Warrior. A section of story I really enjoyed, cause not gonna lie, up until this point I was kind of mentally checking in and out, and that happens a lot as I was going through the game. I'd zone out of the story for long periods, but then snap back in when moments like this happen. Reporting to Junimon, she's all like, "Well done, great guardian. Please continue to use your powers for the sake of the world." And Inori is like, "Bitch, chill. He hasn't decided yet." Junimon surmises that the Titans must be after the current, which is the power source of the digital world that flows from the world tree in the Gear Forest to everyone else in Iliad. Which obviously means that it's best we don't open the gate, since the last time it was opened was 3 years ago during the last major conflict and both worlds were affected. Inori concludes that that was most likely the incident that killed her mother and brother, concluding that this makes this world's problems our problems too, so she's not in a rush to go home. Didn't we already establish that motivation though, just a few hours ago? Inori, you said this exact same thing. You said the exact same, anywho. On the way to Gear Forest, we have another heart-to-heart with Inori about how her dad must be worried sick. She also says that Hiroko is probably only streaming about the supernatural stuff to help Inori find clues about her mum and brother, but she would never admit that. Also, I'm sorry for ruining this vulnerable moment by forgetting to change the characters out of their swimwear. I was just trying to be vibey since we were in the ocean. At the Gear Forest, you know the drill, Titans are already here. We rescue Palmon and says that the World Tree is in danger. Digimon says, "Lead the way, we'll solve this in no time." Inori and I trail behind as she then confesses that before Digimon and I came along, she was depressed and would spend all her time in her room praying for her family to come back. It's selfish of her to hope that the three of us can stay together forever. So whether Digimon decides to come back to the human world with us or stay behind in Iliad, she'll be supportive no matter what. A very healthy decision, my dear. With Palmon using his vines to help us maneuver through the forest, we arrive at the village and meet with Chief Bachusmon and Sirenmon. Bachusmon is too drunk to move, so Sirenmon leads us to the World Tree. We get this cool little segment where Cherrymon mistakes us for Titans. I say it's cool, but it does cause enough of a delay that by the time we repel the Titans from the World Tree, it's too late. Bachusmon says they altered its flow by injecting it with something. With the flow now in their favor, war is inevitable now. He orders us to head back to Chunomon to give her the message. Before heading there, we check in with Digivoltion, who says he's going to return to the Titans at the Abyss. He's going to work his way through the ranks so that he can be in charge of the area and protect it from the inside. I believe in you, King. You got it. We hear from Hawkmon that Junomon's temple is under attack. I swear, how many times have I started a new segment by starting with the fact that a location is under attack? That's just how this story goes, man. We take Locomon to get to the temple and are attacked along the way via this side-scrolling shooter segment. Arriving at the temple under siege, Agumon claims the Great Guardian title as we confront the Ogomon again, but they seem unusually more determined this time round. Titanmon also enters the fray via ripping a portal. Since that's how we initially got here, it makes sense that this is the way back. Before we head through, Junomon gives us the treasure that they're after, an orb containing Chronomon's power, but she orders Agumon to stay as it's his duty to protect Iliad. But Agumon chooses Inori instead, as the two of them made a promise under the starry sky to never leave each other's side. And Junomon takes this well.
This world. How could you choose to protect that human? Are you abandoning us? Abandoning this world?
Digimon! Inori!
Back in the human world, Digimon are running amok. So that's what Titanmon was doing while we were stuck in Iliad. During our fight with a few titans, Agumon digivolves into Agiochusmon. We also spot the treasure falling into our world far away from us. We have to go get it. Along the way, Operator says this current incident with titans invading is unrecorded in the present, so we need to be careful. The way to the treasure is blocked by the blockade set up by the Public Safety Division, but Dr. Simmons gave them orders that if we show up, let us through. Asuna also joins us. Along the way, she goes from being distrusting of Black Gatomon since it's a Digimon, but it winds up saving her time and time again, so she ends up warming up to it. Once we've set up all the generators, Simmons activates the mass EMP and clears the way to the Metropolitan Tower. Simmons, you're a dangerous woman. Powerful too. Baby girl, let me get that Digiline. Oh, and you'll also give me a miniature version of the EMP net that only works once. Okay, you keep playing hard to get. I'll be back. We reach the treasure, but Titanmon beats us to it, getting a power-up. Operator wonders if by meddling with time, we made things worse by accelerating the Shinjuku Inferno. During the fight with Titanmon, we tell Inori and Agumon the truth, that we're from the future, and about the Shinjuku Inferno. We use the EMP that Simmons gave us, but it causes the treasure to go berserk. Agumon charges towards it, but this collision between him and the treasure causes a rift to open, and we end up at the in-between theater. We meet three hosts that maintain balance in the universe. Kanlan, King Drazil, and Homeros. And yes, King Drazil is that King Drazil from Cyber Sleuth. So each host looks after their own digital world. This game takes place in the world of Homeros, which lines up with Digimon Story from earlier. They basically just brought us here to say, "You done fucked it up!" And we're flung 8 years into the future. Better known as the present timeline, which our character is originally from. But just before the Shinjuku Inferno, people react negatively to Agumon. Well, not completely. Most of them pull their phones out and make a spectacle out of him. Inori wants to stop by her house to check on her dad. There we find Hiroko, who had a serious glow up. God damn. She breaks down because Inori's been missing for 8 years and her dad just hasn't come back since. So Hiroko's moved in to look after the place, hoping that she'd come back here one day. There's also like 2 Captain America references thrown in. Threw me for a loop, honestly. But okay. So this timeline, the day we disappeared, there was a huge explosion in Nishi Shinjuku and Digimon came pouring out into Tokyo. So the Wall of Hope was built as a Digimon containment zone, but there are still Digimon districts around the place. So yeah, Digimon are now common knowledge, meaning we changed the timeline. So remember, at the very start of the game, when we're outside the Wall of Hope, we're told that 8 years ago there was an explosion in Nishi Shinjuku, so it was gated off, but Digimon weren't common knowledge. Well now, that explosion still happened, except this time around, Digimon got out. Same thing, different results. Something fucked with the timeline. Was it Titanmon and Chronomon's treasure? Was it the three hosts? How did we even time travel in the beginning? What was up with Inori in the beginning? Were we ever really in the correct timeline at the start of the game? This is when you get to start taking your crazy pills. Inside the Digimon district, we're arrested by Shota Koroi, who now works for DSTAT, the Anti-Digimon Task Force, an offshoot of public safety. After some prodding, he does seem to recognize us. However, it's not enough for him to relent, as 8 years ago, Kyodai Karemi was mercilessly attacked by a Digimon. It's left kind of vague for a while as to whether or not he died or was forced into early retirement. He just chooses very interesting phrasing, but narratively, it's deliberate. While in captivity, Asuna shows up to rescue us, rocking an outfit that I can get behind. She takes us to Rebellion Village, a Digimon hideout underground led by the one and only Dr. Simmons. A lot of the Digimon recognize us too from Central Town. Catching each other up, here are some cliff notes. 1. Digimon are being used as test subjects to develop a weapon of mass destruction. 2. Dr. Simmons quit because Dr. Yuki would never approve of developing a weapon of mass murder and is instead focusing her efforts on researching the natural laws of this world so that we can coexist with Digimon. 3. Asuna's sexy outfit was based off of a character in Agent Alpha. 4. Our actions and decisions create new timelines and parallel worlds that we've been hopping in between. I think we're good. Mirukumon is also here, looking worse for wear. They lost their fight with the Titans and were forced to flee into the human world. So let's see if we can negotiate a ceasefire after liberating some of the villages. So yeah, now we can freely come and go between the human and digital world. Guapamon is still here in good spirits at least. Oh, and Black Gatomon is now Bill Starmon and Asuna's partner. Before we depart, where Garomon says that there's rumors of a famous healer in the digital world. It would be good if we could bring them here to heal Marukimon and the other injured. To Central Town. Oh, this is depressing. It's like that one episode of the Powerpuff Girls. It's fucking Baltimore. Everyone we meet is super hostile, but Lanamon seems super chill. And when we mention a healer, she says we must be talking about Shellmon and offers to take us to her. When we inquire as to why she's helping us, she says that not all Titans are violent or want to fight. Shellmon also got a fucking glow up. Seriously, have I been eating the wrong food or what? Because puberty never hit me this good. She's digivolved into Venusmon, but Lanamon still calls her Shellmon. Yeah, just cause you're hot now doesn't mean you get to forget where you came from. Humble yourself. She's on board with our idea as her and the Titans ruling the Abyss have actually had a ceasefire for a while now, and just to keep good relations, she tells us to transport this wine as a peace offering for the Titan of the Abyss. Submarinemon joins us too, just in case you thought that maybe the leader was still Sharkmon. He's in prison, dickhead. We get this interesting boss fight that switches between physical and magic damage immunities. I love boss fights like this because they force you to engage in gimmicks you may not have been paying attention to. I'm embarrassed to say I genuinely wasn't, as I was pretty much playing the whole game by spamming everyone's unique signature attacks. Well, you're intimidating. Behold, Neptunemon. He's actually Divermon but digivolved. He's happy to see us and accepts the wine. Unfortunately, he and Shellmon haven't actually spoken in years, and so he gives us the scarf that she used to nurse his injuries all those years ago and asks us to return it to her. Though upon receiving it, Shellmon isn't exactly thrilled, more shocked, and it's weirdly ominous on some tragic, oh no, what have I done? The wine she gave him was full of poison. She thought he was the one responsible for poisoning the ocean and making it red. Turns out she had no idea that the Titan she'd been transponding with was Divermon the whole time, but this scarf made it clear as Divermon slowly dies. We pass out and watch this little clip show. We return to just before Neptunemon drank the poison. When confronting Shellmon about the situation, she says it was just a sedative to give her leverage in negotiations, and that she has an antidote she was going to use on the Titan leader, so if he died in our timeline, that wasn't her doing. We should head over to check and she comes along too. On our way, it turns out that it was Lanamon that switched the sedative for poison. She was also the one that attacked Koremi, causing him to retire. Taking over the Abyss was meant to be Neptunemon's role, but Plutomon figured he can't be trusted. Hence, Lanamon was sent here. Digivolving into Calmaramon, we take her down, but her last words are heavy, as she talks about the grudge of the Titans. Neptunemon and Venusmon have a touching reunion. This brings us back to the in-between theater where Mirai explains that the true purpose of this room is to hold the Akashic records that Chronomon accessed, and to help us find specific points in time to travel to so that we can recruit more allies to prevent the Shinjuku Inferno. The more allies we gather is the more of the sacred current Digimon will be able to unlock, growing more powerful. This leads us to believe that the cause of our time traveling must be due to Chronomon's power within Digimon. Operator tells us that Adamus have deemed Digimon to be a threat, an S-class anomaly due to his time travel powers. So yeah, the objective now is to fill out this Lotus Flower with various Digimon allies. Venusmon and Neptunemon are the first two. Speaking of which, we take Venusmon to look at Murukimon's injuries. Turns out he's been poisoned. We need an antidote extract from the Gear Forest. Arriving here, the forest is lifeless. It charges you for Palmon's vines now? Damn. Arriving at the village, it's also deserted, as even Cherrymon has seen better days. Bacchiusmon says that he was asleep when the Titans attacked, and this is all that's left. He then commits suicide. We time travel back to just before the Titans attacked, but all the way back at the beginning of the stage. It's a lot more full of life though, as Lotusmon asks if we're here for the festival. Let's make our way over to the village again. Okay, you're seeing the pattern. The amount of backtracking in this game can feel a bit ridiculous at times. So there's the first instance you traverse through the digital world through each area. Then we time travel 8 years later to traverse through an area again. Then you immediately time travel moments prior to go through the same area again. It feels so tedious at times, given that these areas don't change in layouts or how you traverse, just aesthetically. You could argue that Cyber Sleuth had lots of backtracking with Kowloon, but Kowloon was very small by comparison. It was pretty quick to get through, while these zones in Time Stranger are much larger and take longer, so being forced to go through them 3 times, especially when you have to do it back to back immediately after the fact. And I get that this is a story built around time travel, but maybe create a new section for each zone to go through after you've time traveled. So say we're back at Gear Forest, but for some reason or another, we just take a different route. I don't know, just something for variety, because I get that maybe you have some Digimon you want to grind with, so a hard warp to the goal location wouldn't be ideal either, but maybe have the option. I don't know, I just feel like there was a better way to handle this. As we approach Petrusmon, we fall under a sleep spell cast by Witchmon, but with the help of Lotusmon, we're able to defeat her, as she also talks about the Grudge of the Titans again, as she calls Digimon a demon reborn. It's the horns, man. They're not helping. The sanctuary is being attacked by Tyrant Kabuterimon. During the boss fight, Bacchusmon and Cyromon have a heart-to-heart. She feels guilty over Bacchusmon having to bear the responsibility of being the guardian for the World Tree alone, but Bacchusmon feels as though he's been an incompetent leader. Cyromon sustains heavy injuries during the battle and returns to the earth, as Bacchusmon vows he'll keep this place safe no matter what. Yeah, I felt this one. I know I haven't really been giving each section much feedback, but that's mostly because I don't find myself having much to say sometimes. I'm sort of just waiting until we get to the huge plot twist that this story is built around before I really get into my thoughts on the story. But in regards to Bacchusmon and Sirenmon, I enjoy their dynamic. At first, Bacchusmon comes across as very aloof in a comedic way, as he's just drunk all the time, but the alcohol is simultaneously a power source as well as a vice. He gets stronger the more he drinks. Alcohol fuels him, but it's also a coping mechanism due to the pressure he feels of having such an important task. A responsibility he probably couldn't reject, so it's not just pure irresponsibility that makes him act this way. His alcohol-induced tyrannic strength is probably what made him suitable in the first place. It reminds me a bit of Norman Jayden from Heavy Rain, how he had his high-tech device that would help him solve cases, but he had to keep taking these highly addictive pills in order to counteract the effects of prolonged exposure to it, which then brought its own set of problems, where he would develop withdrawals due to his pills. I feel like there's a poetic term for what I'm trying to explain. Ouroboros? No. Mithridatism? No. Fuck it, I never claimed to be smart. Let's not forget the reason we came here. Extract for the antidote, Venusmon needs to heal Murukimon. He says it won't grow for a while, but hey ho. Warping back to the in-between theater, Digimon wonders if his time travel powers mean he can go back in time and save Inori's family. Though once again, Operator ruins the moment, stating that if he were to start time traveling on a whim, this could be cataclysmic.
Inori, I'll always protect you.
been trying to protect me in your dreams.
Thank you, Digimon. The sky looks so different here. We've come someplace very far away. A different world and a different time, too. Huh? Am I still scared? I was a little nervous at first, but you kept talking to me by my side, and that helped me relax. It's just, I always used to be afraid to be alone at night. Whenever it got all dark and quiet, I would remember the past. But now, I'm fine. Oh, sorry. Did we wake you up? Hey, Digimon. Do you remember when we talked about constellations on the rooftop? People would look up at the night sky, connect the stars to make pictures, and call them heroes and gods. Do you think those heroes and gods could have been Digimon? Huh? Someone like me, a human, could have stumbled into this world and thought the Digimon were gods or something. If that's the case, I think that'd be so wonderful. When I was younger, I'd always pray to the stars when I was alone at night, to forget about being scared or lonely. Maybe my prayers went through. I'm not lonely anymore. I mean, if the gods really do exist, then maybe they granted my prayers.
Yeah, maybe. You know, I've been wondering, why was I the only Digimon to be born in the human world? If it was to make your wishes come true, then I'd be okay with that. You might think that's totally crazy, but I can believe whatever I want, right? Inori, you were the one who found me in the underground below Shinjuku. That wasn't a coincidence. That's why I'll always keep protecting you and watching over you. Like the stars in the night sky.
Thank you for saying that. I actually just came up with a new wish, right now, and I want you two to hear it. I wish for the three of us to always be together.
Woo! I managed to digivolve Locomon and I can ride it. Off to the factory zone to liberate it. Well, it certainly had a glow up. Turns out the big Bearmon is champion of the Colosseum. He joined the Titans to get stronger and has gone on a power trip. We should find the smaller Bearmon. Rumor is he left the digital world. So yeah, these two little shitheads were actually important. Asking at Rebellion Village, they say to check the Shinjuku Underground Arena. We find him here digivolved into Grapplemon, the current champ. He got separated from his brother when the Titans attacked Central Town and thought he was dead, so he's been honing his skills here to take back their town. We tell him that Big Bearmon is very much alive, running rampant in Factory Area Arena. He agrees to come with us to speak to his brother, but as soon as we make the agreement, Hiroko calls saying she has something she needs to tell us. So, Grapplemon, can you know, your brother's not that important right now, so just sit tight for an hour, two hours tops. She tells us she made an anime and that it's gonna air on this big screen, so she makes Inori promise that she'll be back here tomorrow so they can watch its premiere together. Is that a thing? Animes just premiering on giant public screens? Because if it is, that's so cool. London sucks. Returning to the arena, turns out Grapplemon went without us, saying that this is a bout between brothers. And you know what? I don't even blame him. Like, we really dumped this giant revelation about the fact that his brother didn't actually die. He's been alive all this time on a tirade, and then we just leave because we want to watch some anime. I'd be telling us to fuck off too. Big Bearmon is now Callismon, going berserk, not listening to Grapplemon. Almost as if he's possessed by something, beating the snot out of his younger brother. So Agumon activates his time travel powers, now seemingly able to do so at will, taking us back to Vision Theater. So in order to prevent the situation, Inori has to ignore Hiroko's phone call. Inori appeals to Grapplemon to let us come along to help and not ditch us. During the battle, Callismon tells us the truth. He allowed the Titans to modify him so that they wouldn't threaten his little brother. With this revelation, Grapplemon digivolves into Bancho Liam Marsmon. That's fine, I guess. And it ends with Callismon telling his little bro how proud he is of him, and that there are other Digimon that have been modified by the Titans just like him, so please stop them. The whole weight of ignoring Hiroko's phone call is kind of undercut when I immediately get given a side quest from her and there's just no mention of it. Literally, never comes up again. It's just kind of funny. Word is Titans are planning to invade Rebel Town, then possibly the human world. D-Stats may also be plotting to activate a weapon to wipe out Digimon. Dr. Simmons says that since Inori's related to one of the men in charge, it's best she tries to speak with him. So this is where her dad's been all this time.
Why would you make something like this?
Am I dreaming? I can't believe my eyes.
There's so much I want to tell you, but I need you to explain first. Dad, what in the world are you trying to do?
Inori, come here.
You always hated your public safety work. So this doesn't make sense. Tell me why.
I thought you... Apprehend the intruders.
What? Dad!
Suspend the experiment. Time for a change of plans.
Our schedule can't handle delays like that. The operation to eliminate all the Digimon around Shinjuku is tomorrow, yes?
Quite the opposite. We're going to push forward to the execution phase. There doesn't seem to be time to spare anymore. Some odd readings were confirmed above the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building just now. They're identical to those from 8 years ago, when the Digimon hordes appeared. If that thing opens, then we'll be swarmed by Digimon.
Oh no. Do they mean a gate? That reminds me. The Titans said they were launching an all-out attack.
If things keep going this way...
Head to the skies above the government building and engage the enemy. Don't let the tragedy of 8 years ago happen again. Make sure they can't take anything more that's dear to us. That's what we've given everything to achieve.
Roger. Over and out. Captain Karemi, this is for you.
I realized something when you vanished. I realized that life has done nothing but take. And you know who's behind all of it? Digimon. When protecting what matters, sometimes you have to get your hands dirty.
Dad!
Attack! Eliminate any potential hostiles that appear on the roof.
I can see why he became like this. He's lost everything. He's a broken man. I get it. Operator says that this timeline is already on the path to ruin, as the humans activating this weapon is the final step to the Shinjuku Inferno. The only option now is to eliminate Agumon and Inori. Wait, what? Why? Why? How would that solve anything? Wouldn't it just be better to time travel again? We deny her order, so she backtracks and says we're in this together. Her ordering us to eliminate Agumon and Inori does seem to come out of nowhere at first, but there's actually a reason for it. We're getting there. Reaching the surface, Chumon arrives saying that Mirukumon died in battle. He sacrificed himself so that they could seal the rebellion village gate. So he's here for vengeance. And I'm with you, Chumon. Fuck the human race. The Digimon here have also grown incredibly hostile. We go through events similar to the beginning of the game, ending with the three of us getting sucked into a space-time distortion. So we're time traveling again, except...
Inori!
So yeah, the black shadow we've been seeing at various points was actually Aegiamon, but that's kind of all you get for now. Our character arrives at the in-between theater alone. So Mirukumon is the next ally we need to save, so he time traveled without Aegiamon's power. This is where I found myself getting more invested, because the story just continues. We still need to gather up and save these allies without really knowing what happened to Inori and Aegiamon. And the reveal that Aegiamon was the Black Shadow would still lead you to believe that us time traveling was still due to his power, since at the start of the game, the Black Shadow is what caused us to time travel in the first place, before meeting with the Aegiamon that we've come to know. But this time, however, after speaking with Mirai at the in-between theater alone, we're still able to time travel without him. So where exactly is that power coming from? You could attribute it to Homeros, but time was Chronomon's domain, not hers. So what gives? Venusmon is finally able to make an antidote for Mirukumon. I swear, getting this antidote for Mirukumon may as well be the plot summary of Time Stranger. Goodness me, that took so long. But with Mirukumon back in fighting form, it's time to take back Central Town. Ugh, I love a good siege. It ignites something in me. After battling Venom Myotismon, we encounter this very strange, ominous Digimon that seems to have been puppeteering things. It gives us some cryptic words before floating away.
I'm sorry. It looks like this is as far as I can accompany you. Animus HQ will be swallowed up by a massive space-time disturbance any moment now. Once that happens, my very existence will be erased. So all I ask is, remember me. Remember that I existed. If I see Dr. Yuki on the road ahead, I'll tell him his kid is trying to save the world. I'm glad you and I got to work together. Thank you for everything you've done. I guess that's it. The rest is up to you, Agent.
Wow. You know, whenever she'd interrupt the plot before, I'd been wanting her to leave me alone. But now I kind of feel bad. So Central Town is back to being Mirukumon's base of operations. Plutomon, the leader of the Titans, is in Darkfield. It should be lightly guarded right now, so this is our opportunity to find out what the Titans want and negotiate a ceasefire. While there, I do like this gimmick with Geckomon where we need to give him stereotypical shonen platitudes in order to get him to teleport us around. Once we reach Plutomon's temple, there's nothing of him left. He's a rotting corpse, barely able to speak. We face down the zombified Plutomon. Once defeated, the Dark Shadow appears, warping us back to the in-between theater, where Mirai says some interesting words about the Dark Shadow being a tragic hero, falling into despair due to constant reincarnation. That's why it must be guided. That's the reason why we're the ones that have been coming here, since before we even met Aegiamon. This is actually a really big clue into what's going on if you haven't figured it out. Arriving at the temple moments prior to the last time, we find the mysterious Digimon we encountered back at Central Town with Plutomon. It was controlling him. Plutomon tells us the truth that he learned whilst under his control. So we get a retelling of the Chronomon legend with some changes. Chronomon learnt of a higher being by gaining access to the Akashic records. This caused him to have an existential crisis as he felt as though he had no autonomy. So he enlisted the Titans into challenging the higher being. He was defeated, and as punishment, the Titans were banished to the ends of the earth. However, his curse influences the Titans till this very day. Gaining access to the current was the only way to free themselves from Chronomon's curse. It's not revealed just yet, but I'm going to spoil it for the sake of brevity. This mysterious Digimon is the manifestation of Chronomon's curse. That's how it's able to control the Titans. So when Chronomon died, it left behind the egg, starting a new religion based on the lie that the Titans were evil. So for some strange reason, in his death, Chronomon managed to create two opposing factions that he could puppeteer into conflict. Now why would he do such a thing? We're going to find out very soon, but Venusmon manages to save Plutomon before his zombification. Mirukimon surmises that the puppet master that was controlling Plutomon from the shadows must be after something in the human world. We catch Dr. Simmons up on the situation. She says there's an underground lab she wasn't allowed into, so that may be where they're developing the power supply needed to activate the super weapon we saw before. We sneak in using fake ID she made. No personnel are here, just Digimon. We find a dead Volcanismon as he was used for the weapon's core. Dr. Simmons is especially angry that Digimon were absorbed to power the weapons. So we decide to jet over to the government building where we find a melancholic Aegiomon. He realizes that Chronomon created the false legend and the forced conflict between the three factions to awaken Aegiomon's time travel powers. He's been spamming time travel for the sake of trying to rescue Inori, who was sucked into the space-time distortion, being removed from the time stream. So all the instances, even back at the start of the game that we encountered the Dark Shadow, it was Aegiomon interfering with time to prevent Inori from vanishing. But he fails every single time. But according to him, Ash already know all this. But he vanishes before completing the statement and was sent back in time to rescue Volcanismon. We reached the point before the humans stole all of the Digimon's power and faced Dr. Cougar. Before we defeat him, he mentions that Lunamon, now Dianamon, was the one supplying Dr. Cougar with the Digimon to use in his experiments. For those that don't remember, Lunamon and Coronamon were the two with Minervamon in the beginning. So let's head to the Cosmic Zone to confront her ourselves. We hear from Pumpkinmon that Dianamon and Apollomon had a falling out after Minervamon was imprisoned somewhere. I love the Cosmic Zone, my favorite location in the game. I love swapping between the two climates in order to traverse. Such a cool gimmick. Pumpkinmon convinces us it's best to visit Apollomon first. When we tell him about what we know, Apollomon goes on a rampage into Dianamon's territory. Dianamon loses her temper with him as his hot-headedness is the reason they fell out in the first place, as he never listens. But once we calm them down, she says that Junimon was the one that told her to send Digimon into the human world to act as envoys so humans could understand them better. When she eventually found out that the Digimon were really being sent to Dr. Cougar, she sent word to Minervamon for advice but heard nothing back. Same with when she tried reaching out to Apollomon. Turns out Pumpkinmon had been running interference, making sure that nobody got each other's messages under orders from Junimon. When we go to confront her, we're imprisoned, but rescued by the Titans. Every Titan we face throughout the game shows up in this part, which is really cool. There's a section involving not being able to defeat Clavis Aegiomon, so we continuously need to avoid him, and it's so tense. I won't lie, but we eventually lock him in a cell, and we rescue Minervamon. She says she was locked away by Junimon, so we confront Junimon again. This was probably the hardest boss fight in the game for me, as she has a skill that bans you from using items. So if your SP starts running low, you just gotta rely on that good old fashioned fade. Upon defeating her, that same mysterious Digimon emerges, then vanishes. So yeah, Junimon was under Chronomon's spell. Back when the Titans invaded and Aegiomon refused to stay behind to help, that moment of despair within Junimon created the perfect gap in her psyche for Chronomon's curse to worm in and take over. She too was just another victim of Chronomon. We walked back to the in-between theatre where Mirai talks at us again, saying that Aegiomon was created by Chronomon for the sake of suffering so much despair that he would use his powers to sink the world into darkness. This is also where things start to get a bit weird. From here on out, Digimon start speaking to us as if we're the one that hatched from the egg, as if we're Aegiomon, the Great Guardian. Furthermore, the human weapon still gets activated, and when talking with Dr. Simmons about what our next move should be, she questions what Dr. Yuki would do. When we reference that Dr. Yuki is our adoptive father, Dr. Simmons is legitimately confused, telling us that Dr. Yuki is a character from the Agent Alpha anime. He's not a real person. That spooked the fuck out of me, I won't lie. Anyway, So we head back into the human world to try to deal with the weapon, but a space-time disruption opens up, and I'm just gonna let this play because it's so much easier than me explaining it.
It's been a while. I'm sure you've realized by now. Realized you aren't a normal human being. The one who created you must be quite satisfied. You've done well to fulfill your role thus far. To honor your achievements, allow me to tell you who you are. Since Digimon disappeared, you've been mistaken for the Great Guardian. I'm sure you can understand why. Your creator is the higher being that was challenged by Chronomon to a battle. This higher being's name is Homeostasis. Chronomon's plan has disrupted the equilibrium between worlds and threatened their very existence. You were given a role to eliminate anyone who upsets natural law. The higher being chose a certain existence to act as a base when giving you life. That being was Digimon, or the Dark Shadow. Digimon had been scattered across countless timelines after traveling through time again and again. Your existence is based on the Dark Shadow in one of those timelines. There is a clear reason why that method was used. The higher being has a strong aversion to directly and excessively intervening in the world it watches over. To minimize its influence, it chose to take advantage of these dark shadows. What the higher being hoped for was a sort of self-purifying effect on the world. Digimon, who lost someone important to him and who was driven by pain, disrupted the laws of time. And thus, the higher being tasked him with righting his own wrongs. It took an instance of a dark shadow from one of these timelines and crafted him into your form. Adamus, your personality, your memories, were all prepared for you to help you fulfill your mission efficiently. That goes for me as well. I only exist in your head. You are the agent in charge of maintaining the world's equilibrium. When establishing your character, we used some of the memories of the Dark Shadow. It was the wish of the Dark Shadow for us to do so. The Dark Shadow's wish. In other words, it was Digimon's wish. Digimon wanted to reunite Inori Misono with her little brother. He tried to accomplish that by taking her brother's place. Inori's little brother was a big fan of a certain character, he often liked to pretend he was that character. Your appearance, your memories, they were created, in part, from the memories of Inori's little brother. The reason you're being mistaken for Aegiomon is because you were originally born from him. As the time of integration approached, your form was naturally returning to that of Aegiomon's. Chronomon gave birth to Aegiomon. Aegiomon gave birth to countless dark shadows. And you were created from one of those dark shadows. Like the cycle of time, equilibrium is maintained when all things are connected. Yes, all things in this world are nothing but gears of time. However, that in itself is no cause for dismay. What should cause alarm is when those gears go awry, stopping the proper flow of time. That is exactly what happened to those dark shadows, to Aegiomon. When time moves forward and we can progress onward, we can choose our future. That is where all our hopes lie.
I see. So that's how it is, huh? I get it now. A me that lost it from losing Inori turned the world all crazy, huh? That's the truth behind the Shinjuku Inferno. All of that happened because I have the power to alter time. Me going back in time prevented time from moving forward. The world's time just stopped. I probably never should have used this power of mine. You came to help me, didn't you? You came to encourage me, to tell me to move forward and restart the flow of time. But is that really what you want? If I move forward and stop trying to repeat time, the dark shadows will disappear. That probably means you'll cease to exist, too. Okay. I'm sorry, but thank you.
By uniting, we become Jupitermon, defeat the human weapon that's fused with Chronomon, open up a wormhole to get Inori back, and then we end up at the end of time, so that we can unseal and defeat Chronomon for good, so that his curse will stop impacting everything. So this is that JRPG moment where the path to the final boss is open, but we unlock a fuck ton of side content to do prior. So let's seriously talk for a bit. As I was playing the game and I reached this point of the story where we get the big revelation and all the mysteries are answered and solved, up until this point I wasn't thinking much about the plot. I was just enjoying the gameplay, and this was the moment where I had to stop and question how I felt about the story. So in a nutshell, Chronomon's plan was to cause so much conflict that Agumon would suffer so much trauma and pain that by continuously fucking with time, it would release him from his seal and gain access to the Akashic records to free himself from being under the creator's control, known as homeostasis. So in order to stop Agumon from running amok, homeostasis took one of the shadows Agumon left behind and created us to be a countermeasure. So back at the start of the game, when Operator had all that clunky exposition dialogue, well, yeah, that's because we'd only just come into existence, since Adamus isn't real. That's also why she was constantly trying to goad us into eliminating Agumon and Inori. It does what a good twist should do and recontextualize everything we've been experiencing up until now. But as for the whole Chronomon was responsible for absolutely everyone's actions, I don't know, it's a story trope I can't really stand. It just removes any sense of complexity. I feel like you could have made this conflict work without him directly controlling the various Digimon. The fact that the Titans and Junomon's faction both had their own versions of the Chronomon myth could have been enough for them to want to fight each other. I mean, that's how religious wars work. Fuck, I mean, even Cyber Sleuth managed to do that by having the Royal Knights split over King Drazil's will. Because that's one of the earliest themes you pick up on, the tragedy of war and the scars it leaves behind on all sides. Inori's dad being driven to war only because the conflict between the Digimon took everything from him. I did find the scenario between Venusmon and Neptunemon to be a bit silly though. Like, all these years, there was never a sit-down conversation. Like, at least with Dynasmon and Apollomon, it was because Junomon and Pumpkinmon were running interference. But what? Venusmon had her glow up and became too good to speak to anyone face to face? I mean, they already had a peace pact, so how did that happen? How did they form a peace pact without me whatever. Through Agumon, Inori, and Inori's father, you've got the theme of how to process grief.
Ain't no shame in holding on to grief. As long as you make room for other things too.
Losing Inori caused her father to go to war, and Agumon to literally break the space-time continuum trying to save her. If you've lost someone you've loved, especially from a young age, there's no doubt in my mind that this moment with Agumon processing his grief will hit you the way that it hit me. I have no problem believing in the relationship between these two. Verbally, they acknowledge each other as siblings. But personally, I see more of a motherhood thing going on. Agumon literally hatched from an egg, and Inori was the first human he found, and for lack of a better word, he imprinted onto her, became very protective, hung on to her every word. Even Hiroko calls what Inori has a maternal instinct. And the entire game is built around developing their relationship. However, as the third party in this relationship, I'm just not very attached to these two. Agumon, you almost have no relationship with, honestly, as there are times when I just feel like a third wheel because he's just always talking directly to Inori. It is cool seeing him go from a shy, stuttering kid to being more take charge and assertive, and he is almost always in your party, so at least there's that. But Inori, man, I really wanted to like her, and I actually did in the beginning. It's strange. Inori has so much more personality in the opening few hours. She's more energetic, has a sense of humor, more agency, but as soon as Agumon enters the story, it's like she loses all of that. As from then on, every conversation with her is exactly the same. When I lost my mother and brother, I was depressed, so I want to prevent conflict so nobody else has to suffer loss. It's the exact same dialogue every time. We're constantly reiterating conclusions that she reached ages ago. It becomes her entire personality trait. There's no additional quirks or character moments. Nothing when you're exploring towns and villages with the locals. Nothing outside of that. She's just not a very dynamic character. Because it says a lot when they exit the story, and I barely thought about them, let alone missed them. Because I couldn't help but think, what if it was the Cyber Sleuth cast? Like, imagine exploring the digital world with Arata, Nokia, and Yuko. How much of an absolute riot that would be. There'd be so many unforgettable moments. Or the Hoodie crew. Yeah, I know guys, I know. I pronounced it wrong in the last video. Forgive me. I know at the start of the video I said there's nothing wrong with toning down your characters for the sake of telling a more down-to-earth story, especially if you're trying to emphasize the weirdness of the digital world, but you know what I think we needed? A fourth character. A mood maker type. Hiroko. Hiroko should have been with us in the digital world as part of the main cast, because you know what? Whenever Hiroko's around, that's when Inori is allowed to be more dynamic. She brings out a different side to her. That's when you see her being a bit more goofy and silly. It's like she's just not allowed to be that way around Digimon. When you reach the section of the game that we're at when you unlock a ton of extra side quests, it's Hiroko you do them with. She's like your partner in crime, and it's honestly my favorite part of the game, with the two of you just getting caught up in shenanigans and wild escapades. I think not having Hiroko be along for the ride was a huge blunder. I can't help but wonder if the Cyber Sleuth games didn't have much to work with budget-wise, reusing a lot of assets, so I feel like more work was put into writing compelling characters with more fleshed out arcs and dynamic interactions, as a large chunk of those games is just staring at these characters talking, with some of the side quests not even involving much gameplay. Time Stranger is bigger and more beautiful and seems to have foregone character depth to tell a more grandiose story where we can show off more lush environments and place more of an emphasis on commuting. Not that I'm saying that's a bad thing, as I'm about to get into. Gameplay was a lot of fun, I've been saying it the whole time. This is definitely my favorite out of the Digimon games that I've played. I just think the story is not as up to par as what came before, and I think that's just because I prefer having more interesting characters around, and I can easily see people disagreeing with me on that. Like, if you genuinely love this story, I get it, I can see it. To me though, it's just serviceable. It's a story, it does its job, it just doesn't leave me with much to chew on. Truly for me, I became most engrossed during the pre-final boss part of the story, where the game world fully opens up to you. The game is mostly on rails as you move from set piece to set piece, but now you're given free reign to freely travel to every location, both past and present. Or past and future, fuck time travel, at your own leisure, with plenty of side quests to mess around with. Some which involve doing tasks in the past and then returning to the present day to see the outcome, like Sarenmon on her way to fully blossoming. You also get to spend more time with Digimon like Minervamon and her little arc about love and attraction. Lots of Hiroko escapades, there's even side quests involving reuniting the Royal Knights from Cyber Sleuth. The Colosseum opens up with more fights. This is honestly the shit that I live for in JRPGs. I'm a slice of life sort of guy, I don't know what to tell you. And side quests have more of a point this time outside of their standard rewards. You get anomaly points which boost your age and rank experience to unlock skills. Most of these skills involve giving stat bonuses to your Digimon by increasing how much of a stat boost they gain as they level up. The Digivolution system has been given a massive overhaul, as now each generation is locked behind your age and rank. I wasn't sure how to feel about that at first, but you know what? I really like it. With the large library of Digimon, it leaves you with plenty of room to experiment within your range. That coupled with the fact that there's no limit to how many Digimon you can have with you. There's no storage system. You can access all your Digimon from your Digivice. Now of course you're still limited to 6 in your active party, but you can chop and change and Digivolve all from this single menu. And experience points get distributed to them too, so you may be wondering, well, what's the point of the Digifarm then? And that's honestly a huge point of contention due to one huge fatal flaw. So for maybe the first half of the game, I ignored the Digifarm, only to then realize that once you start passing champion, some stat parameters for Digivolution aren't reachable by just grinding it out, or at least it's not viable. So cool, that's when you'll need the Digifarm. Okay, so let me check on my Digimon. Let's talk to Mirai. Sit through this loading screen, and I can't check to see if it's ready to Digivolve. The only way I can check is to remove it from the farm. Exit. Load screen, load screen, load screen. Okay, it's not ready to Digivolve. Guess I'll put it back. Hey Mirai. Yep. Okay. Load. Okay, set training again. Now imagine having to do that for every Digimon. Not being able to directly Digivolve in the farm, as well as not even being able to check to see if the parameters match, is such a design flaw. Cyber Sleuth had perfected the whole process. You can move Digimon from party to box to farm to party, check evolution tree, digivolve, all from the same menu. Half of my Cyber Sleuth footage was of me staring at these screens because one of my favorite things to do in the game was raise these critters to weapons of mass destruction. The mechanics were deep with a harsh learning curve, but maneuvering through it was streamlined enough and so smooth that I wanted to engage with it and slowly became what I played the game for. I don't need all this extra pizzazz. It becomes clunky and sticky to the point that there were times when I just couldn't be bothered. Because yeah, there's still a decent chunk of Digimon you can brute force into digivolving without needing to engage with the farm. Okay, hang on, wait. I am being gaslit right now, I swear. Okay, yeah, so turns out the game actually got an update about a month ago where you can see Digivolutions in the farm, but I swear I'm not making this up. This was a huge problem before. So never mind, the system's perfect. I have no complaints. Combat has been refined to a T. They've kept everything that worked with small tweaks. There's a speed up mechanic so you get through encounters quicker. Your player character has cross arts that he can use to turn the tide of battle. Your party size has been reduced from 11 to 6, but with the addition of guest characters alongside the fact that there's no memory limit, you can stuff your team with whoever you want without limits. I was never wishing for more reserves, honestly. I would argue that this game was slightly more challenging than Cyber Sleuth, but that's not really saying much considering the fact that you're kind of leveling up all your Digimon up at once. I think the surplus of potential Digievolutions available to you as passive Digimon level up balance that out depending on what part of the game you value more. We pass through various sectors of the space-time continuum as every human and every Digimon we've encountered along the way aids in opening the path to Chronomon. And if you completed the side quest involving the Royal Knights, they show up in a really cool cutscene. This is fan service I can get behind. Defeating Chronomon causes a problem. He's freed from his prison so he can finally cross over, but this means the world is left with nobody to govern time, meaning someone has to take his place, Agiomon. Rewinding time and creating a brand new world without him where nobody will remember him. Okay, we're doing this again. No, sorry, it's really sad. Look, Inori's emotional.
For finding me when I had just hatched. I can handle the rest by myself. In the next world, I'll make sure that the gate doesn't open. That'll make it so the war never happened. So then, all the things she lost should be back to normal. Of course, it'll also make it so we'll never meet. But as long as she's happy, I'm okay with that. Inori will be somewhere in the world. As long as I can feel that, I can get through an eternity or two. But at the very least, I want you to watch over her closely. I know it's selfish of me to ask, but you definitely understand how I feel, right? Because after all, you are the other me.
This was a tale of two worlds. The world of humans and the world of Digimon. As a result of the two worlds converging, Agiomon met a human girl. By living among the humans, he learned of their kindness and formed a deep bond with them. But meanwhile, Chronomon was sowing the seeds of chaos that would guide the world to certain destruction. Aegiomon learned of his destiny to become the Great Guardian and rose up to face the challenge of protecting the world. However, during a battle, the girl disappeared into the ether. To rescue his companion, Aegiomon awakened the power over time that lay dormant within him. But in a tragic chain of events, he lost control over his power and set the world on a path to ruin, all according to Chronomon's machinations. Aegiomon fell into a deep despair from his failure to save his partner and from causing the destruction of the world. But fortune smiled upon the Great Guardian and offered him another chance. This time, Aegiomon used his mastery over time unselfishly and changed the tragic fate of Iliad's champions. Together, the 12 warriors awakened their true power as Iliad's protectors, found the girl, and vanquished Chronomon once and for all. However, even his demise at the hands of the Olympus 12 was part of Chronomon's grand design. I will take the place of the Keeper of Time. Despite knowing what that would entail, Aegiomon was resolute. He wished for the girl's happiness and sought to return everything she had ever lost to her, by offering the time they spent together as a cost. The gate connecting the two worlds had closed, once again separating them. Though his partner was now a world apart, Aegiomon would continue to watch over her, forever, as he promised.
Huh? Wow, cool! That's an alpha model! Can I hold it for a minute? Is it really the real thing?
You? Please behave, would you? Oh, I am so sorry about...
Bloody Nori!
Come on. Huh?
Yeah, okay. I got caught up in the moment when the credits rolled, but I don't know, man. It feels like so much of what I've seen here was already done in the previous game and done much better. Even the main character erasing their existence to make the world better. Maybe it's because I've played the Cyber Sleuth game so recently. We are talking almost a decade between those releases, so it's fair enough, but part of me thinks I want to see a different type of story told, because playing this game felt like how I used to play games back when I was a kid. Like, I'm just waiting for the cutscenes to end so that I can get to the next section of gameplay. Because the only time I think the gameplay sours a bit are during those moments you time travel and have to repeat an entire section immediately after the fact. Outside of that, exploring was brilliant. My save file isn't 70 hours purely because the story was that long. I was genuinely having fun sinking my teeth into this world. I like this setting. I love being in the digital world. I love being in Tokyo. I love Dr. Simmons. I love Hiroko. I love Minervamon. The Abyss looks gorgeous. The whole game does. I just can't help but wonder if we couldn't shuffle some things around. From the looks of things, we're getting an expansion. If it's anything like Hacker's Memory, we might be getting a whole new story, and I'm so down for that. Because I don't want to leave here just yet. I wanna build on this and see what we can really do. Because the game even seems to be setting up and referencing lots of lore. Between the 3 servers, homostasis, all the other references to other Digimon media I didn't quite get, but I will eventually. I love Digimon, man. I really do. I'm becoming a genuine fan, and I think that's why I've been so harsh with this game. Probably more than it deserves. And you can be damn sure I'll be getting the expansion when it comes out, because I even rebought the game for my Nintendo Switch, just so that I can play it at work and on commutes. If I've come across as disingenuous or bad faith, by all means, call me out on that shit. I'm a big boy, I can take it. I'm still new to the Digimon community, so I'm open to hear what you all think. With that being said, take care, stay safe, eat right, train hard.
forget the reason for every tear, the road that they have paved.